Hello, trading has closed on the 17th of August, 2022. We always start with our disclaimer, go over our predictions, and make some calls for tomorrow. Please remember this whole week I have personal business, don't have as much time as I normally do to analyze things. Please follow the rules of my channel, and please remember I can change my mind and I can also be completely wrong. If you want to trade based on my predictions, do so at your own risk. We look for the pattern with the early high. That's this. Tends to be a rally day with a high and a final hour. We certainly got the high and the final hour, but the high was under all these prior intraday highs. If that's maintained at tomorrow's open, that's a negative pattern, and we should see lower prices even if we don't close lower. In fact, when this pattern doesn't close near the high of the day, we should trade lower. Now, what counts isn't today's close, but tomorrow's open. If we gap and promptly overtake this high, all that negativity goes away. But as of now, this is a negative pattern. This is a reminder of what we said. I didn't think we'd go too far over the declining 200-day moving average. We went over it at all. Actually, yesterday's high is held so far. That was one of our candidates for the high. We get to cross an old target off the list, 42.63.49. That one's gone. The next lower target, 42.52.24, came close. We came within about a handle or so, less than a handle. So that's the next target. If we see it, there's normally support under the target, but that's been tested already, so I wouldn't count on support if that prints again. During the day, we got an ultimate sell signal in the morning. We certainly had a drop. The afternoon gave us both higher and lower targets. We had a higher target, and that certainly printed. MEJT said it was a false move, would retrace under this low here. We did that. So we did the minimum. That also satisfies the minimum for the ultimate sell. But almost always, before too much time passes, you get more than the minimum. And more than the minimum means undercutting this low. And don't forget, if we undercut this low, it's pretty unlikely we're going to overtake this high. And if we do drop at the open, it should be a serious drop. We said we didn't think we'd go too far over this moving average, and we didn't. We have good fibs with wave 1 and 3, if that is 3. It's a good fib ratio. I just had trouble counting these waves. It's a 5-wave structure, but there should be balance in those waves, or else I suspect the count's wrong. Now, I've been busy all week, and the best I could come up with yesterday was this, but I wasn't convinced it was right. I just had trouble counting some of these waves internally as 5-wave structures. I had a little more time today. I did come up with this, with a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, and you see wave 5 and wave 3. If I make that wave 1, the Fibonacci relationships to wave 3 in typical proportions. It also looks like a much cleaner count to me. I don't have to force anything or fudge anything. And even though I admit it's not the only count, I think it's a valid count, and I'm going to go with it until I'm proven wrong. Don't be confused by the colors here. I got my golds and blacks mixed up from the last chart. Just look at the numbers. So we're assuming this is 1, 2, 3, and we should be in a 4th wave, and the high of this wave 1 should hold, but that's way down here. And as far as how much we can drop, I can't calculate that now, but it wouldn't surprise me. This has the potential to play ping pong between the 50 and 200 day moving averages. Certainly isn't required, but it happens often enough. Well, tomorrow's pattern has the early high. We could still gap down. Today's normally bullish pattern closed under intraday highs. It's bearish unless we gap and promptly overtake today's high. Lower prices should print regardless of how we close. When the normal bullish pattern doesn't play out, one expects to see a straight line drop. The drop we had today isn't enough for me. I don't think it qualifies so far. So if we don't gap and overtake the high, I think we're going to gap down and gap down smartly. We identified yesterday's high as a possible end of this rally leg, and today's action certainly is compatible and actually I think confirms that interpretation. As long as that's a valid count, as long as that's a valid resistance which held, certainly have the potential for a sizable drop from this point. Tomorrow's pattern has the early high, and that's today's call.